there's this idea that in portraiture, it's the photographer's job to set the subject at ease. I don't believe that. I believe that, I'm not doing hidden photography here. I'm not standing behind a building with a long lens. It's hard to be this subject, but, I think there is a kind of, I know I'd feel comfortable if I'm with a photographer that I know can do something relatively good, that there's a kind of a trust in that. And I've been asked this question over and over and over again about how do I set people at ease. I don't believe in setting people at ease. I believe that they are coming to this sitting with whatever they can do to present themselves. That works in its own way, number one. Number two, usually in a photo sitting, I can literally hear people sigh with relief after 5 or 10 minutes of meeting me, because I think they relax within it because they just see that it's not going to be such a big deal, and it isn't life, by the way. It's just a photograph. I check. I do. I don't like it. I think it does interfere. I think it's kind of rude to the subject, quite honestly, to be like, "Ooh," But we used to take Polaroids, and we used to look at Polaroids, and then start shooting, working with film, and inevitably the picture was always in the Polaroid. You kind of went back and you were chasing the Polaroid over and over and over again. So on some level, to have it digital now, and you're shooting, and maybe you're checking it, but you have it at the same time. I think it's better not to look at it so much. I think it is kind of rude. I actually have gotten to the point where I just go, oh, and then I go and I show the subject at the same time, because I feel like they should know what you're looking at. I remember in the first 10 years or 15 years of doing this, I didn't know when to go home. I mean, I didn't know when it was supposed to be over. I remember David Felton, who wrote for Rolling Stone, he said, oh, I have it. Or he didn't say he had, he said, I had enough, and I said, how do you know? How do you know? I mean, I didn't know, when it was over. I just some of these longer stories. As you grow up, you also realize that it's sort of not fair to the subject at a certain point. You just need to, I try to make it as painless as possible for the subject. I don't think, especially if it's a one-on-one session, I don't think it should go longer than 4 hours. I think you should try to do it as fast as possible. I mean, I'm just thinking about photographing the Queen. I mean, the first time I photographed her, I was given catalogs of her clothing, of her jewelry. I was told it was going to be Buckingham Palace. I walked the palace. I had to figure out where I could shoot her. I had a half hour. The Queen isn't going to come in with some ideas. You pretty much have to decide what you're going to do, and you have to make, was planned, like every move was really planned. I certainly didn't know what her temperament would be like, and she came in, kind of really irritated and strong, which I enjoyed very much, by the way. It's like she was very feisty, and she worked all the way through the shoot until it was over. I mean, she had a great sense of duty. The idea that you can spend a lot of time with your subject these days, that's pretty much over. I was once backstage with Bruce Springsteen, and I photographed him many times, and this was just the first time I was seeing him in a while, and I went by myself. And I was backstage right before, he was working on his song set, and it was just us back there in the room, and it was, taking pictures of him working on a song set. And finally I said, is it like I'm here? Am I here? Or how does this feel? Or, just because I wonder from his experience, because even though I was acting like I wasn't there, I knew I was there. So it was like, I was having this kind of, and he said, no, no, it's like, yeah, I know you're here. It's like, I know you're here. It's like, yeah, yeah. It's like, you don't really disappear. Everyone knows you're there. It's just how you conduct yourself and what you do. I love photographing by myself, but I get scared. I get scared. Having to go in and sometimes be there, by yourself with everything going on. And I tell you what I do is sometimes I go in and meet someone and talk to them for a long time, or, in the house before I bring in what's going to happen. I do think some of my better photographs are done without other people around. I do think, there is definitely an advantage to it. But sometimes, I hide in the setup myself. I feel more comfortable having the setup because I feel like I can hide in it and I can get back to observing because I'm such a non-communicating. It's hard for me to talk to people and take pictures at the same time. And sometimes I just like something else going on and it distracts them, and I don't have to sort of be responsible for communicating to them. But all of these ways are valid. They all work. I mean, I think every now and then I break away from the whole production and go off by myself because you have to. You have to know what you yourself are doing. The Ben Stiller Couture shoot, we were in Paris, and I thought it was a good opportunity to sort of, emulate fashion photography, in Paris. And we just look at all these different fashion photographers. It was fun to put branches in his head, like Bruce Weber, who did a whole series of models with tree branches in their head. And also Ben is as you know, short. So, and these models are like 6'5". It was funny right away. I mean, he's naturally funny. He's physically funny. There was one photograph where the girls are in these, outrageous, ridiculous ball gowns, and in this at this bar in Paris, and he's stepping on one of their, on their clothes. There's no place for him. It's very funny.